the things that I'm wondering about is with the class story. Like for instance, right now I'm playing as an agent.
Right.
Is my class story ever going to kind of cross into the flashpoints? Are the flashpoints ever going to be used for class stories, or is the flashpoints going to be kind of just separate side quests and side missions in addition to what's going on with your main story?
I would say the best way to describe it is the flashpoints tend to be self-contained stories in their own right. They tend not to interact with your stories, but where you typically hit them makes sense with where your class story is at the same time. Most of the events of your own class story, I'm sure if you've played, you've noticed they happen in phases. And sometimes those phases can be big and significant, and some of them are as big as a small flashpoint from time to time. But you know, for the most part, we wanted to be sure that we didn't want you to ever need a group to complete your class story. We wanted to be sure that you could solo through your class quest if you wanted to.
So would there be any reason for a player to want to repeat doing a flashpoint?
Sure.
So what would be like some of the reasons? What would be some of the incentives other than just enjoy for the pure enjoyment?
Light side, dark side, loot, and the fact that flashpoints are fun because they tend to be some of our you know, most well-designed content. They tend to have our scripted bosses. They tend to, you know, have a lot of the BioWare feel and BioWare story going on. I have the most fun actually when I'm playing our flashpoints.
When in PAX, you guys showed off the Terrell 5 flashpoint, and it was a lot of fun. One of the things that I remember from PAX is a big surprise that they said that companions was going to be something that was taken out of flashpoints at this point in the game. Now, I guess what led you guys to come to this decision? What were some of was this a product of game testing, or was there something else that happened that made you ultimately make this choice?
So I want to stress that we are still iterating on that design right now. So right now you can actually play a flashpoint with a companion in the build that we have right now. They're just terrible because you know, we have things like boss fights where you have to do specific things and our companion AI is not set up to handle it. So and the problem with companions is that in order to do good, interesting, intricate boss fights, you want to be able to do unusual stuff, and if you have companion driving in a flashpoint, then we have to give the player the tools to tell their companion what to do, or we have to make the companion smart enough to figure out what to do. And if we give the player those tools, incidentally, then suddenly we're making you play a pet class in a very, very overwhelming situation. So I'll never say never, but I'll say that most of the momentum is on making these tight four-man groups of players on the flashpoints, because one thing you have to keep in mind is that balance-wise, companions do a lot of damage. Companions do damage that is, while not as high as a player, I mean, it is in the ballpark. And so when you talk about, for example, a boss fight where you're fighting a companion character with a companion character by your side, the difference between 4 people who can keep their companion characters alive and 4 people who can't is enormous in terms of how much DPS is done. And we felt really uncomfortable about saying every class in the game has to play a pet class inside of these environments. So that's kind of where we are now. I want to stress we're still iterating, we're still trying things there, but that's kind of where the philosophy is driving us this time.
What was it that you saw in other games that made you say, we have to do something completely different with crafting?
I think it was not so much about what we saw in other games that made us want to do the Crucible system with crafting, as much as we actually felt like our crew was underutilized. And we have a whole bunch of great characters, and they're just sitting on your ship and they're not doing anything. And so we thought this is a way to make them feel more important, to elevate their importance, give you more emotional connection to them, because you're constantly in communication with them. And so, I won't say that's the only reason we did it, but that was one of the primary drivers of going with a crew-based system. We also thought, frankly, that there is a faction on the team who believes that the heroes in the movies didn't craft. Right.
You never see Darth Vader fishing.
You never see Darth Vader fishing. And I'm not particularly incredibly sympathetic to that point of view myself, but I also agree, I do agree that, you know, we really want this game to be about you, the hero, you, the adventurer, and, you know, making your companions do more of the legwork, more of the grunt work, both makes them feel valuable and also makes you feel more heroic.
Sure, it's delicious. I just don't understand why we can't see Yoda now.
Patience! For the Jedi, it is time to eat as well. Eat! Eat! Hot! Good food. Good.
As I was saying about in other games, I've gotten to the point where I'll reach a certain level where I can make a certain item, and you know, by that point, that item is useless to me. What is crew skill is going to offer that's going to prevent that disconnect between what I can make and what I actually need?
Well, that's not so much going to be a matter of the crew skills. Whenever you're talking about designing a crafting system, you're really talking about two things, right? In both of these, a lot of people sort of confuse the two and the importance of the two. One is the interface, and one is the itemization schedule. Like, what is the importance of the gear? What is blah, blah, blah. You know, you can have an interface that is just like WoW, or just like, insert the name of your game here, and if the schedule isn't set up right, no one will ever use the items. Whereas you can have the best crew skill system delivery mechanism in the world, same thing over on this side. So to answer your question on that, it's all about being sure that the itemization schedule has nooks and crannies where the crafting stuff is the best stuff, or that is, it's definitely where you want to seek as you, the crafters, because here there's sort of a absence of other systems providing gear for that slot, for that role. And you know, we go to a lot of work actually to be sure that there are times when the crafted gear is definitely the best stuff.
Was there any time during development where there was another system like this, another crafting system that was not crew skills? Or was that always the plan from the beginning?
It was the plan, and then we simplified it to be far simpler, and then we decided that we couldn't ship with it being that simple. That was too boring. So we brought back the crazy plan. And you know, it's crazy, but it's fun, and it's intricate and it's deep, and you know, it sells the BioWare companions, and it's been just a pleasure to work on.